Welcome to QuickBooks tutorial. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to learn QuickBooks Desktop for different line of businesses. And then if you're a beginner and you're looking for a guide on how to understand or get familiar with QuickBooks Desktop. So this is the video. So in this video, I'm going to show you how QuickBooks Desktop work and then what each of the icon represent, how to customize your desktop for different line of businesses. And then we're then going to look at each of the menu on QuickBooks Desktop and then how to be able to use them and what they stand for. So I have multiple videos on this channel on how to use QuickBooks for different line of businesses. So however, for those that want to get familiar with the desktop dashboard, so this is actually the video you need. So these are the things we're going to learn. We're going to learn what QuickBooks Desktop is basically, and then the different type of QuickBooks Desktop, the categories like Pro, Premier, Enterprise. Then we'll look at QuickBooks Dashboard and their basic customization. And then we're looking at understanding QuickBooks Desktop workflow for different line of businesses. And then we're also going to look at QuickBooks Desktop menu. So we have the file, we have the edit, we have list, we have company, we have customers, we have vendors, we have inventory, we have banking reports, and then the help section. What exactly are this menu designed for? So that's part of what we're going to look at in this video. So let's go to QuickBooks Desktop properly. So this is QuickBooks Desktop. So what exactly is QuickBooks Desktop? Now, QuickBooks Desktop is a system-based application that you install on your computer system. So it's called desktop not because you are actually going to be using it on a normal computer desktop. And then a lot of people always ask me, does it mean I cannot install it on a laptop because the name is desktop? No. What desktop there means is that you can actually install it on a computer system, on your own physical computer system. That's what it means. So when you buy a QuickBooks Desktop, you're going to be given a license, and then before 2020, you could actually get your pack, QuickBooks pack delivered to you. But after COVID, QuickBooks uploaded all their softwares to their online platform. So you can go to QuickBooks Online to download the software. So let me quickly take you through how you can download QuickBooks Desktop from their website. So when you click on download QuickBooks Desktop, so you go to Google, you search download QuickBooks Desktop. So you see here download QuickBooks Desktop. You click on it. Why this is very important is that there are so many pirated copies of QuickBooks application out there, and if you're not careful, you would end up downloading the wrong software that might damage your system or even install a spyware. So that's why I need to start by showing you how to download QuickBooks Desktop. So this is the page, and then when you come here, you click on download and update page. This is it here. To download the installation file, you click on download and update page, or you can go to this link downloads.quickbooks.com /app QBDT /product will take you here. Now, when you come to this page, you will see it's giving us two options, either to select UK or Canada version or the US, depending on your region. So if you actually watching this video from UK or Canada, you can click on UK or Canada section. And if you're watching from the US, you click on US section. So I'm going to click on US and then look at this option. Will you be using QuickBooks Desktop on multiple computers at the same time? Multi-user mode. So I like to select yes. So even though I'm buying one user, I still want to select yes. The reason is that tomorrow, if I decide to expand, something could come up that would make me want to buy additional license. Something might just happen because most likely that you would want to expand your business. It's most likely that you want to grow your business. So it's better you provide for expansion by selecting yes. So you click on yes. So even if you still plan to go with one user from now to 5 years, I would advise that you select yes because you cannot predict what will happen next. So you click on next. Then this is where you select the US version. Now, assuming you selected US and then you found out that your version is UK or you actually want UK or Canada, you can actually change that option right here. Then we have the different types of QuickBooks. You can see here we have the QuickBooks Desktop, we have the Pro, we have the Accountant, we have Enterprise, we have Mac, and then we have the point of sale. So let me share the difference right now. Now, QuickBooks Pro is the basic version, the lowest version. Before now, there was QuickBooks Simple Start. Before QuickBooks phased out Simple Start. So QuickBooks Pro is the basic version. Now, Pro works for different type of businesses except manufacturing. So when you run a service-based business or like a consulting firm, or you run a retail-based business, that only focuses on one unit, one type of unit of measure. So if you run a retail-based business where you track your inventories by different unit of measure, maybe some in liter, some in carton, some in pack, then Pro may not work for you because Pro doesn't have unit of measure. So Pro is only limited to retail-based businesses that tracks one unit of measure. So most of the times, I actually don't even recommend Pro for my retail-based clients. I tell them to go with Premier because even if your inventories are tracked using one unit of measure, there could also be room for expansion. You might diversify into other line of businesses tomorrow. Do you have to buy another software? No. So that's why when I recommend a software, I like to go with a version that would not only take care of your immediate need, but also provide for future expansion. So you don't have to incur additional costs buying another software because the one you have is not able to take care of your expansion or your growth. So that's the limitation of Pro. It doesn't have unit of measure. Now, however, companies like organizations like NGOs can use Pro very well. But when it comes to number of users, Pro cannot take more than 3 users. That's the maximum. Now, when we talk about the number of users of Pro, we're looking at the number of people that can access that data file at the same time. So if you have a typical accounting department where there are 5 account officers, one person is in charge of invoicing, the other one is in charge of receivables, let's say payments, the other one is in charge of expenses, petty cash, the other one is in charge of banking, and then maybe the last person is the admin or thereabout. Now, everybody wants to be working on the same file at the same time. So if you're using Pro, only 3 persons will be able to access that data file at the same time. That's the limitation of Pro. So because of that limitation, you can then move to Premier. So Premier takes up to 5 users. So Premier has the manufacturing feature. So for retail-based businesses that also wants to expand into manufacturing, or for a manufacturing company or companies that are into assemblies of company components, Premier is the best. Premier has unit of measure that comes with it. Then we have the desktop accountant. Desktop Accountant is similar to Premier. It has all the features of Premier. However, the major difference between Desktop Accountant and Premier is that it's designed for accountants. It's designed for accountants, maybe auditors. Now, another key feature that makes Desktop Accountant preferable, which I always recommend for clients over Premier, is that it comes with what we call batch transaction. So if you're someone that's looking to post transaction in bulk from Excel, maybe you want to do bulk import, Premium may not work for you. Desktop Accountant is the best. So with batch transaction, you can bring in transaction in bulk from your Excel into your QuickBooks accounting software. So that is different. Then we have the Desktop Enterprise. So the Desktop Enterprise is designed for companies that wants to expand beyond 5. Maybe so we're looking at 6 users, 7 users, 8 users, 9 users, 10 users, up to 30. I understand that QuickBooks is expanding desktop account to 40 users. So it's bigger. From the word enterprise, it's more tailored to companies that are bigger in sizes, in terms of capacity, in terms of structure, compared to companies that are using the desktop and then the Premier version. Then the QuickBooks for Mac, like you see here, is designed for users that their OS is Mac. That's a Apple system. So that is QuickBooks for Mac. We also have QuickBooks for Windows. All these versions you see here are QuickBooks for Windows, this is for Mac. Then we have point of sale. Point of sale is for companies or organizations that run supermarkets. Maybe you have a supermarket, have a retail stores, and you're looking for an application that will make it easier for you to sell. So point of sale is more or less like a sales software. It's a front end based software. So most times clients that buy point of sale still go ahead to get the accounting software. So point of sale takes care of your transactions from the front end, more or less like a sales transaction, while the accounting software takes care of your back end, your expenses. So what happened is that there is a seamless integration between point of sale and accounting software. So for some companies that uses point of sale, they buy the accounting software to get data. So you can sync transaction between point of sale and accounting software on a real time. So every sales figure from the point of sale are posted into the accounting software. You can also push data from the accounting software to the point of sale. So you can see that these are different versions of QuickBooks Desktop, and then you see that we have these versions by year. So whichever version you want to install on your system, let's say you want to do QuickBooks Desktop Accountant, you can see here. So you have the different version to select from. Now, when you select these different versions, you also need to note whether they are one-off or subscription. Now, QuickBooks started introducing subscription on Enterprise in 2018. So the last version of one of Enterprise is 2018. So one-off means that you don't pay subscription. So it's 2018 is the last version. So you don't pay subscription on this particular application. But the only challenge now is if you can still get the license to activate it. Now, for the later versions, they are subscription based, meaning that you'll be paying every year to still have access to the software. So those are the different versions of QuickBooks in terms of the year and also the usage and then the region. So let's look at other things again. QuickBooks Desktop Dashboard and basic customization. So let's continue with the download first before we move to the other part. So let's select Enterprise, Premier, let's say Premier 2021, and then you click on Search. So when you click on search, you can see here, it takes you, this is where you're going to download the software. So when you click on download, automatically it initiates that download on your system. You can then run it and install. So I assume that you already have your license before you can proceed with installation. So let's go to QuickBooks Desktop Dashboard. So this is our QuickBooks here. Now, this QuickBooks Desktop Dashboard you see right here, they are not just designed for you to like them or make it look so good. They are like a guide for you. They help you understand accounting systems and workflow. That is why QuickBook has always been the best software when it comes to um, accounting, as in especially for people that don't understand, because this dashboard here is able to guide you on what to do. Like here, you see that when you raise a purchase order as a retail-based business, you said the purchase order is like a request. You can see here you create a purchase order to submit to your vendor. So it's like a request that you need certain products. Now what happened is that the vendor is supposed to respond to you by sending the inventory. So that's the reason you see purchase order pointing to receive inventory. So it's a workflow. Now when you receive your inventory, you can receive inventory with bill or without bill. When you receive inventory with bill, you're saying that the product you have received from your vendor after sending purchase order, they actually came with a bill. A bill is like an invoice. The only thing now is that depending on the party. So if your vendor is sending it to you, to them, they are sending an invoice. To you, you are receiving a bill. So if you are the one sending to your customers, to you, you are sending an invoice. To your customer, they are receiving a bill. They are still the same. It all depends on the party or the angle from which you're looking at it from. So here we have receive inventory with bill and then receive inventory without bill. Receive inventory without bill assumes that you're receiving the product without an invoice coming with it. So meaning that seller is saying, okay, I'm sending these goods to you because you need it urgently, but I'm not sending the invoice right now. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 days, I'm going to prepare the invoice and send to you. So receiving inventory without bill might work when you need an inventory urgently and the seller is here to prepare an invoice for it. So you could just get that inventory delivered to you so you can then do whatever you want to do with it or fulfill your customers order. Then if at a later date the vendor is sending that bill to you in respect of the product that was delivered earlier, then you can enter bill against inventory. So that's when you're receiving your bill maybe like some days later. So here, enter a bill for item you have already received. So this is for item you have already received. The first one says enter receive inventory with bill, meaning that they both came together. The other one is saying enter bill again. So meaning that I'm entering this bill against the inventory I had received before. So that's the workflow. Then from this workflow here, you will see that this will automatically become a payable. So when you receive a bill, when you receive an inventory with bill, this is it's still the same thing as this. Now the next thing is you're expected to clear that bill, settle that bill. then you go to pay bills. So pay bills will show you list of all the expenses, list of all the bills you owe your vendor. So that's why pay bill is there. So you can see that this is a workflow. Normally, if it's maybe other accounting software, they tend to arrange this icon in such a way that you wouldn't even know where to start from. That's why I like the fact that QuickBook is giving you a simple workflow on their dashboard. So without you even using the software, you're already getting familiar with the workflow. You already understand what you should do after you post a transaction. So that is the purchase side of your business. Now, what happens to the sales side of your business? This is sales order. Now, when you receive a sales order from your customers, two things will likely happen. A customer might request for item you don't have in store or item you have in store. Now, if the item is in store, what happens? You respond to that customer request by sending a quotation. So, which is why you see estimates pointing to this. So, if a customer requests for an item and asks you if it's in store, you send a quotation if you have that item in store. Now, if you don't have that item in store, that sales order becomes purchase order. Do you understand? So that's exactly how it works. So your sales order becomes a purchase order when you don't have that item in store, but your sales order becomes a quotation when you have that item in store, because normally you're supposed to respond to that customer with a quote stating the list of the items they requested and then the price of each of the items. So what if they don't have it? You don't have it in store. You convert the sales order to a purchase order, meaning that you send it to your vendor and then you have this product in store. If they have it, then you can then receive. But if you don't have that, if you have the product in store, you automatically send a quotation. Now, what happens when you send a quotation? The customer will either accept the quote or not. So if the customer accepts the quotation, it becomes an invoice. So what does that mean? The customer will look at it and say, okay, that's fine. I've seen your quote and it's okay, supply. Now, the moment you supply that item, you can see here, it becomes an invoice. So you create an invoice when the service has been rendered. You create an invoice when the service has been rendered, not before, after, because the implication of creating an invoice is that it becomes a receivable in your book. So why are you creating an invoice for a service that is yet to be rendered or a product that is yet to be supplied? So you have sent a quote, they have accepted it, and then you've delivered. Now you can create an invoice. And the moment how you create an invoice, it becomes a receivable. Now, when it becomes a receivable, it means that the customer is owing you. And when the customer is owing you, what happened? You're supposed to receive payment. You can see here. Now, at the point of owing you, between the point they owe you and when they make payment, you can generate a customer statement. You can see here, create a new statement to show your customer a history of their account activities, charges, payment, and balances. So between the time you create an invoice and when they will pay you, you have a customer statement in between. So this customer statement will show a summary of all the transactions that are taking place between you and your customers or clients. So if the customer balance is different from what they have in their book, then you can generate a statement to reconcile. That's why you have the statement in between invoice and then receive payment. The moment you receive payment, what happens? You record deposit. Now, another option is, what if the customer walks in, no estimate, it just comes to our office or comes to the store to pick up the inventory and paid us immediately? What happened? You create sales receipt. So sales receipt and invoice are different thing entirely. They are not the same. So most of the times people always use sales receipt for invoice for sales receipt. When you use an invoice to post a transaction, you assume that it's a credit transaction. You assume that cash was not collected at the point of posting. But when you use a sales receipt, it automatically means that cash was collected. That's why on your sales receipt, there will always be room to record deposit. But whichever one you use, make sure you record deposit in your bank account. Now you see how each of these workflows are there to guide you, are there to help you understand QuickBooks Desktop. So even QuickBooks Online is currently being designed to look like a desktop, because the workflow on the desktop has always been one of the reasons QuickBook remains the best software, because the desktop will guide you. So imagine someone that is not an accountant. What do you expect? This workflow is already helping the person, meaning that when I post estimate and I come back to desktop, what happened? I'm supposed to go to invoice. When I post an invoice, what happened? I'm supposed to receive payment. So when I receive payment, what happens? I'm supposed to record deposit. So you can see that they all flow from the left side to the right side of the screen. So anything you post, just look at the right side of the screen if there is anything remaining. If there's nothing remaining, it automatically means that's the end of that posting. Just like you have your bill here, when you go to the right side of your posting, you see pay bill. So most times on other software, when users post and they click save and close, they assume that that's the end, thinking that they've completed that transaction, not knowing that they ought to have looked at the right end or right side of the next workflow. And the next workflow on QuickBooks Desktop would always be on the right side of your screen. So I hope this explains how QuickBooks Desktop work. Then there are other sections of your QuickBooks Desktop like the banking. So you have your record deposit, you have your reconciliation. This will help you to reconcile your books of account, and then you have your right check, which you use to clear or make immediate payments. You have your check register, which is like your bank statement. And then under the company section, you have your chart of accounts, you have your item and services, which is like product. Then you have your inventory. So this is where you manage your inventories, like inventory center, your build assemblies, and just quantity on hand, and the other thing you need to do. So let's go back to our course outline to understand what is next. So we've discussed people the workflow for different line of business. So let's talk more about dashboard customization. Now you also notice that on this dashboard there are icons you may not really need because of your line of business. There are icons you may not really need because it's not compulsory that you must always use all the icon. Now we have a retail-based business, we have a manufacturing, we have real estate, we have NGO, we have an auto manufacturing company, we have a school. So we have different construction contractor, developer, and a whole lot of them. Now, are you telling me that we're going to be using all these icons for this businesses? No, you don't need that. That's the advantage of QuickBooks Desktop. You're able to customize each of these icons and even select the one you want to be displayed on your screen. So on your the QuickBooks Desktop, when you go to Edit, you select Preferences, you see where we have Desktop View. So on Desktop View, this is where you do your customization. You go to Company Preference. So this is where you select. So let's say I do not want sales receipt. I don't need it. You uncheck. Oh, I don't need statements. You can uncheck here. Now you can also see other things you don't need. Let's say you don't need estimate. You click on it right here. So it's going to save and open again. So we're turning off that item. So you go back to desktop view. So you see here. So let's say estimates. You can see here. Do you create estimates? No. The moment you select no, automatically estimates will no longer show on our desktop screen again. You can see that estimate is no longer here, right here. So if you can go back to edit, preferences, desktop view, company preference, you can see estimate is off. So let's say we don't want sales tax. Click it out. Click no, click OK. Then you can go back to your desktop view to see, you can see sales tax no longer here again. So let's take out some other icon that we don't need on our screen. Preference, desktop view, company preference. So let's say we don't want sales order. Look at it here. So uncheck this to show that we don't want sales order. You click OK. You can see sales order is already out. If we go to edit, preferences, desktop view, company preference. Let's say we don't want inventory. You click on that, then you uncheck this part to show you don't want inventory. So let's say you're a service-based business. Can you see all the purchase order, receive inventory are no longer here again. You can see how our desktop is a bit minimal right now. So this might just be a simple workflow for an NGO. Let's say an NGO. Even for an NGO, you can take out an invoice, you can leave receipt. So that's the flexibility in the use of QuickBooks Desktop. You can choose what you want to be displayed on your desktop. And on your desktop view, we also have the insights. So, the insight is actually available for other currency companies like USD, Euro, or pounds. So that is exactly what you need to do. be able to customize your QuickBooks Desktop. So when you're learning how to use QuickBooks Desktop, one basic area you need to start your tutorial from is the desktop itself, because it will save you a whole lot. It will save you a whole lot. Don't just jump in to start entering invoice. Understand the basic workflow on the invoice, sorry, on the desktop. They will help you. They will help you understand how QuickBooks work. And then the first thing is look at the line of business you're customizing the QuickBooks for, and then try to understand what they do. Now, in understanding what they do, you're able to tell which icon is needed and which of them is not needed. Now, this is for an NGO. What if I want to customize desktop for a manufacturing company? Then I should bring back purchase order, I should bring back inventory, I should bring back sales order. Do you understand? So then if I want to do for real estate, what exactly? So first understand what the company line of business is, and then try to understand the workflow, how they earn money, how they also spend money, and then what are their assets. So when you do that, you'll be able to tell what icon needs to be here or not. So let's move on. So let's look at discuss the different desktop menu in QuickBooks. So when you open QuickBooks, you see that we have different menu. We have the file, we have edit, view, list, favorite, companies, customer. So now when you go to file, under file, you will see create company. This is where you create a new company. So assuming you want to create a new company in QuickBooks, you come here, you click on create a new company. One of the advantages of QuickBooks Desktop is that you can create as many companies as you want without paying additional fee as subscription. But the online, the more company you create, the more you are supposed to pay for that space, because on online you're occupying space. So that's why you pay for that cloud server. Then you can also open and restore company. Open and restore company assumes that you already have a backup. So let's say you have a backup stored in an external disk or storage device. You can come to open and restore company to bring that. So open the company. This is the standard portable file. When you save a company in QuickBooks Desktop, it comes in as QBW. Now, when you run a backup, it's saved as QBB. So if you're going to restore a backup, you click on restore a backup. So we also have what we call restore a portable file. So we create a company file that was stored as a portable file. This is it here, QBM. So that's if you want to open a company. Then this first one is create a company. Then this is open or restore previous company. So on your computer system, as you create open more companies, they would automatically come here as previous company. Then rather than going through this whole stress, you can come here and click open previous company. That's if it's on your computer system. But if it's not your computer system on an external storage device, you select open or restore company. Then this is where you back up. So assuming you've been using this system for a while and you want to back up your company file, you come to create local backup. So you create local backup right here, and then you select the option. So this is where you select the parts you want the system to back. So most likely, I advise that you back up to the cloud. So it's best to download Dropbox or Google Drive folder to your system and then select it as a backup part here. So that as you back up, system automatically save it to the cloud rather than having it on your normal computer system. Or you can save it to an external storage device. Do not save or back up to your computer system where you're using the QuickBook. If anything happens to that system, you're not only going to lose your file, you're going to lose your backup too. Then you have the maximum number of files you want to appear on that particular folder. So I always select three. So what it means is that if I save the backup today, save tomorrow, and save next day, that's three backups. On the fourth day, it automatically deletes the earliest one. So the system will not be able to keep more than three files at the same time in that folder. So that helps you control the number of files in that folder, so you don't have QuickBooks backup filled up everywhere without control. Then you can ask the system to remind you anytime you close the company file in a particular number of times. So you have it here, and then you can proceed with your backup. So if you go back to your file, we have close company. When you create a copy to, it's also very important. Let me try to see what I've done right here. Okay, so let's reopen. So I think I clicked on close company file. Okay, file. Now you see we have close company. That's what just happened right now. You can close the company if you're no longer using them again. Then create a copy, also similar to restore. You can restore a backup, you can restore a portable, you can also have accountant copy. So you can create a compact version of your company file. Your accountant will use it to make adjustments that you can import into your file later. So you can actually create an accountant copy of this file, send it to your accountant. Your accountant will review. Once they review, you can then import it back again into this company file. So that's create accountant copy. So that is another thing you can do. Create accountant copy. Then we have the, let's go back to file, close company. So I've talked about it. Now, switch to multi-user mode is when you want to allow other users to connect to your QuickBooks desktop. So there are situations where you want to give other users access to your QuickBooks desktop, maybe in a multi-user environment. You use QuickBooks Premier, and then there are 5 users that wants to connect, and you are the central system. So you can't just get them to connect automatically. It's not possible. You have to switch to multi-user mode. Multi-user mode means you want to open the files up for multiple users to post transaction at the same time. So while you're working on this system, other users are also posting the same transaction into the same company file. So to do that, you have to switch to multi-user mode. And then when you switch to multi-user mode, at the top of your screen, you will see here, right here, it will show your username and then in bracket multi-user mode. So these are other areas like printing of forms, printer setup, send forms, and all that. So you have your edit. Under your edit, I like to use more of preference here. So with preference, this is when you do your some basic customization. You have your accountant here where you are able to activate your account number on your QuickBooks desktop. You are also able to activate class. With class, you have different departments. So if you have different departments or different location that you want to track their transaction, you can activate class. Then this is for HR. So we have your customization for bills. So bills are invoice you receive from your vendor. Invoice are bills you send to your customers. They are still the same. Then you have your calendar right here. So you have your check customization. So you just pick what works for you. I've talked about desktop view. We have a finance charge. We have the general customization. So this will just when you read each of them, it will help you understand what they mean. Now, if you want to connect an external application to QuickBooks, this is where you go to integrated application. So this is where you see applications that are connected to QuickBooks. Then you have your items and inventory. So items and inventory right here. You have your jobs and estimates. So look at jobs and estimates. Then you have your multiple currencies. Then you have your payments. You have payment and estimates. So multiple currencies when you want to activate multiple currencies. Item and inventories when you want to activate inventory on your system. Remember we deactivated inventory. So if you want to activate it, you come back to item and inventory. So you can do a whole lot. You have a reminder, you have a report and graph on the system. You have sales and customer, sales tab. So you see right here, we have a whole lot you can do on your QuickBooks desktop. So I still prefer QuickBooks desktop to online. Even if the online is cloud based, I would rather take my QuickBooks desktop to the cloud and host it on a cloud server and still continue to use it than to go with online. Not because online is not okay, but QuickBooks desktop still has more feature compared to the online version. Online currently doesn't provide for manufacturing, so QuickBooks Desktop does that. So why would you go with online for your manufacturing when you can actually deploy QuickBooks Desktop to the cloud? So those are some of the features you see under edit. So we have your list. This is where you do your chart of account customization. So depending on your line of business, you have your chart of account. Chart of account helps you categorize your transactions by income, expenses, assets, or liability. So whether you use QuickBooks for a retail-based business, a manufacturing-based business, a real estate, an NGO, or whatever line of business you use, chart of account is one of the most important parts of your setup because this is where you're going to define what's going to be your income head, your expense head, and that's what the system will use to generate your financial report. So your P&L for retail-based company, the P&L for retail-based company is not the same as that of an NGO. An NGO is income and expenditure. What are the makeup of income for an NGO? Grants, donations. For your retail-based business, sales. sales of products, services, whatever consulting, outsourcing. So you see that these are different line of businesses, but are using the same software. So where is the difference coming from? Your chart of account. So before you start setting up QuickBooks for any line of business, make sure the chart of account section of that QuickBooks is properly configured. If we move over to and let's say a real estate, maybe a property management or development company, the same thing also suffice right here. So make sure your chart of account is properly set up to allow for easy posting and also financial report. The most important part of this chart of account setup is your financial report, because if you don't set it up very well, it will reflect on your financial report. So under edit, we still have fixed asset listing, we have your class list, we have your currency list, then we have other things like your customer rep, customer type, vendor type. So these are different features. Like if you want to add a sales rep to QuickBooks, you use your sales rep list. If you want to add your class, use your class list. If you want to check list of all the currencies in QuickBooks, you go to currency list. And then under currency list, you can update your exchange rate. So we have your company. So under company, we have the different features. You can set up users and password. You can set up your closing date. You can enter business detail. Now, set up user and password is when you want to add multiple users to your QuickBooks. Closing date is if you want to restrict users from posting transactions. Maybe after you have reconciled the book for the month or year, you can restrict users from posting into that prior date by setting closing date. So you come to set closing date and password, select the date, let's say 31st of August. It means that any transaction posted into July, June, April will not be accepted, will be bounced back, or the user will be asked to input the password to show that they are unauthorized, they have authorized access. So this helps you control users from posting into prior dates. So that's set closing date. Let's continue on other features. Then we have the planning and budgeting. So if you want to set up budget for your business, you can come to planning and budgeting, set up your budget, enter all the details, and then how much are you expecting? How much do you plan to spend? System will then be able to generate income and expenditure budget for you. And then you can also do budget versus actual on the system. So on our report, we have budget versus actual to help you check how much you have spent and what you expected. This is it right here. So if you go back to your company, so we have reminder, we have alert manager. So this is where you set your alert on the system to remind you of certain things you need to do so you don't forget. Maybe you have bills to pay. So we have manage currencies right here. So there are a lot of things you can do on QuickBooks Desktop. So you have the customer center. This is where you manage all your customer information. So the customer center is where you add new customer, edit an existing customer, but you can't delete a customer with a balance. So under customer too, you can create an invoice, you can enter sales receipt, you can create customer statement, you can also create payment reminder. You can receive payment from the system, from your customers. I mean, you can also create credit memos and refund. You can go to lead center. Then you have your vendor center where you be able to manage all your vendors. So vendors are your product suppliers or service providers. Then you have your employee section. You have your banking section where you can write your check, you can make deposit, you can do fund transfer, you can reconcile your accounts, and then you have your financial report. So everything you're doing in QuickBooks Desktop, they are actually reflected on your financial report real time. So you have memorized reports, schedule reports, cosmetic reports, you have your company snapshots, you have your companies and financials. This is where you see all your P&L, your P&L, maybe that standard year-to-date comparison, income by customers, your balance sheet, everything. Then you have your customers and receivable balances where you see all your customers and how much they owe you. Then you have your sales report. This is where you check all your sales. You can even drill down by customer details or your item. Then you have your vendor, you have your employee, you have your banking, you have your accountant and tax where you can check your trial balance, you can generate your trial balance, your general ledger. You can also see your journal entry posting. You can see voided and deleted transactions. So you see there's a whole lot of things to see or to do in QuickBooks. So you have your budget versus actual right here, and then account listing. So QuickBooks Desktop come with so many features, just like you see right here. So understanding the use of this system first boil down to the dashboard, the home page. Then from the home page, you get familiar with each of the icon. Now, if as you're getting familiar with each of the icon, bear in mind the line of business that you are actually going to use this for. Because if you start using this system without understanding line of business, you will mix it. So first stage is understand the type of business you want to customize this QuickBook from. Then you then be able to look at the dashboard. It's on the dashboard that you begin to know what icon to use and what not to use. From there, you can then move over to the basic customization. Like here, I always start with my chart of accounts. That's the first thing, because chart of account automatically tell me the type of business I'm doing, and then I can move on to do other customization. So I hope this video on learning QuickBooks Desktop for your line of business as a beginner would help you get familiar with the software. So if this is the first time you're watching this channel, kindly hit the subscription button and turn on the notification bell. And if there are areas you want me to address, if there are questions you have, you can as well drop your comment section. I'll look at it. If there are also line of businesses you want me to create a video on, I would also do that. Thank you.